The saloon was rowdy that night. Smoke curling from cheap cigars, laughter sharp and mean, but the noise fell into a hush when the auction began, because no one expected the prize on display. Shackled, barefoot, and glaring fire from her eyes, the girl stood tall despite the chains, her dark hair falling wild around her shoulders, her spirit so untamed that even the toughest cowhands muttered she was more beast than woman. Men whispered she'd broken horses with her bare hands, fought ranchers twice her size, and spit at every proposal of marriage forced upon her. They called her the wild girl, cursed and admired in the same breath. "No man can break her," the auctioneer crowed, slamming his gavel for silence. "But maybe one of you has the grit to try." Bids came fast, men boasting, laughing, daring one another. But when fists slammed tables and tempers flared, one voice cut through the din. $100. The room turned to see a lone rancher, his hat pulled low, eyes steady as the prairie sky, his voice not loud but iron strong. Whispers hissed, Luke Maddox, widowed, quiet, known more for his hard work than his words. "Fool's wasting his money," someone muttered. But when the gavel fell, the wild girl belonged to him. She spat at the ground, her chains rattling, snarling. "You'll regret this, cowboy." Luke only tipped his hat and replied, calm as ever, "Ma'am, I didn't buy you to break you. I bought you to bring you home." The ride back to Maddox Ranch stretched across miles of rolling hills and empty sky, silence hanging between them heavier than any chain. She sat rigid in the wagon, eyes darting like a cornered animal, her jaw clenched, her fists tight. But Luke gave her space, guiding the horses steady while humming a low-tuned Jacob, his young son, often begged him to sing. At first she scoffed, turning away. But when the wagon hit a rut and she nearly toppled, Luke's hand shot out, steadying her with quiet strength. "I don't need your help," she snapped, her voice sharp as flint. "Didn't say you did," he answered, letting go instantly, his eyes back on the trail. When they reached the ranch, Jacob ran from the porch, his laughter bright against the quiet dusk, and the girl froze, her wildness faltering at the sight of the boy's open joy. Jacob tugged Luke's sleeve, whispering too loudly, "Pa, is she the one?" Luke only ruffled his hair and said, "She's family now." "Treat her right." The girl blinked, her lips parting, as though no one had ever spoken such words about her. That night she refused the house, choosing instead to sleep in the barn among the horses, and Luke didn't argue. But he noticed in the morning the way the mare leaned against her as she brushed its coat, calm where it usually nipped at strangers. Day by day she worked with a fury, hauling water, mending fences, moving like she had to prove herself, yet saying little. Jacob followed her steps, peppering her with questions, and though she never answered, she never pushed him away either. The first crack in her wall came when he tripped carrying kindling. She caught him before he hit the dirt, her giant hand gentle on his back. "Thank you, ma'am," Jacob whispered, and something softened in her eyes just for a moment, before the fire returned. It wasn't long before trouble found them, as it always did in the wild. West Benton and his gang, men who once claimed to own her, rode in one stormy afternoon, sneers curling their lips as they spotted her working the corral. "You think you can keep what's ours, Maddox?" Benton spat, his voice booming across the yard. Luke stepped forward, rifle resting easy in his grip, his voice steady. "She ain't yours." "Never was. You'll leave now." Benton laughed, circling his horse, eyes locked on the wild girl. "She's nothing but a savage beast. She'll chew you up and spit you out, cowboy. Best hand her over before she tears your place apart." The girl's chest heaved, fury blazing, but before she could lunge, Luke's voice rang clear. "She stays. You cross this fence, you answer to me." The gang dismounted, fists and guns flashing, and chaos broke loose. Luke fired into the dirt, scattering them. But it was the girl who shocked them. All, snatching a fence, post and swinging with raw power, knocking Benton sprawling into the mud. The gang scrambled, dragging him away, their threats ringing hollow in the storm. Breathing hard, soaked in rain and sweat, she turned to Luke, her voice trembling for the first time. "Why? Why risk your life for me?" His eyes never wavered. "Because you're not property. You're a person, and you deserve better than chains." Her breath caught, and for the first time, she didn't argue. From that day, the ranch changed. She no longer hid in the barn, but sat by the fire at night, listening to Jacob chatter about school, sometimes even smiling when he told a joke too silly to deserve laughter. She began to speak, short words at first, her voice rough from disuse, but growing steadier with time. She told them her name, Mara, and the sound of it seemed to fill the room with something sacred. She worked alongside Luke, her strength unmatched, but it was her instinct with animals that truly amazed him. Horses calmed under her touch. Cattle followed her lead as if she carried an unspoken bond with them. Luke found himself watching her often, not because she was beautiful in the polished way of town ladies, but because she was real, alive in every motion, every glance, every guarded smile. One evening, as the sun painted the sky red, Luke asked her to ride with him. They galloped across the open plains, the wind tearing through hair and hat, until they slowed at the ridge overlooking the valley. "I used to think I'd never stop running," Mara admitted, her voice breaking. "But here, with you, with Jacob, I don't want to run anymore." Luke reached across, taking her hand, rough against rough, and said, "Then stay. Not because you owe me, not because I bought you. Stay, because you choose to. For the first time." She squeezed his hand back. Life on the ranch was never easy, but together they faced each dawn with grit and quiet joy. Neighbors whispered still, some mocking Luke for bringing home the wild girl, others marveling at how she transformed from fury to fierce protector. Jacob no longer asked if she was staying, he simply called her Ma, and each time, Mara's throat tightened with emotion she couldn't hide. When Benton tried once more to stir trouble in town, the sheriff himself warned him off, saying no law would ever tear her from Maddox Ranch now, and Benton slunk away, beaten not by force but by the bond he could never understand. Mara stood tall beside Luke at every Sunday gathering, no longer a spectacle but a partner, her wildness no longer a curse but the very strength that built their home. One night, as stars blanketed the prairie, Luke turned to her on the porch, his voice low. "I didn't buy you that day. I found you. And in finding you, Mara, I found my heart again." Tears glimmered in her eyes, but her smile was fierce, unbroken. "And I found my freedom," she whispered. Then, without hesitation, she leaned into his embrace. No chains, no walls, just the steady beat of two hearts riding the same trail at last. And that, friends, was the story of how the rancher's quiet courage and the wild girl's untamed spirit forged a love stronger than chains and fiercer than any storm. If you felt the power of this journey, if the Wild West still tugs at your heart, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep bringing you these unforgettable tales of grit, love, and the untamed frontier. Saddle up and join us. There's a whole trail of stories waiting just for you.